Hi everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here with another PB&J card class, and this is the fifth in my Handmade Holiday video series where I am sharing my design process that helps me limit supplies but keep my motivation high. It also helps me avoid decision fatigue and sort of that blank canvas, blank card syndrome where it's really hard to get started. So this is how I like to approach things. And today's video is all about creating your very own winter or holiday bird postage stamps. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I am in love with Penny Black's posted stamp set. It also has the matching posted cutout die, and I'm trying to make a card for every season using this postage stamp. And so that is my featured element today. So what I'm going to do is only focus on that featured element and gather limited supplies that are going to support only that featured element. So let me show you here. I have a photo box, and what I do is gather up those supplies and just put them in that box. So you can shop your stash, shop your new products, and make your box and be ready to go. So I've got that posted stamp and the posted cutout die. And then I decided to go with birds. So I'm even limiting it down a little bit more. And so I grabbed some of these gorgeous birds from Penny Black's newest collection, and I'm adding those to my box. Now I do have all of these products listed and linked for you down in the YouTube description box below, along with a complete supply list of everything that I'm using in today's video. So I've got the pleasant perch, the feathered friends, and the winged pair. I love these bird stamps and have made a lot of cards with them. And I've also grabbed some new stick and shine designs. So this is the postage shine, which works with that postage stamp die and cutout. I also have the shimmering tune and the foils that can go with them and the tool for applying those. I love the music notes with the birds. And then I also have grabbed our embossing folder blizzard, and I'm going to be stamping onto Canson 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. So now you know what's in my box, and I am ready to begin making anywhere when I do this process 3 to 6 cards for each featured element, and I try to do that then as much in a batch or assembly line style as possible. So it enables me to make a lot of cards but not get bored with the process, and they don't all end up looking the same. So I am using some gray flannel ink to stamp this posted stamp onto my background. I've just masked off the edges using some sticky notes, and I am stamping my birds using Memento Toffee Crunch ink. That just gives a nice no line look, but it's still not so light that it's hard to see. And then I'm also going to stamp this first and that comes with that posted stamp set up in the corner. So I'm working in batches, so I'm going to do all of that stamping at one time so you can see. And I love how these different bird stamps, they look so different once you add them inside the posted stamp set. It's really fun. Now I'm going to do all of my painting. I'm painting using Distress Ink Reinkers used as watercolors. You can see them there on my palette. I have a cup and a paper towel handy. There's just water in the cup. I also have an acrylic block there, and I've pressed my Toffee Crunch Memento ink pad onto that acrylic block, and that's what I'm painting with right now. It just gives a nice sort of vintage look without it looking yellow. So I do like to pull that in and paint with it as well as stamp with it. I'm adding some weathered wood Distress Ink Reinker on top of that while it's wet, and I'm just working on the background right now. Now, if you want to see more about my painting process and lots more detail and even some real-time painting, I'll put a link to a video that I've done with that down in the YouTube description box below. And I do like to, when I think of it, to paint my backgrounds first. It just is a little bit easier than, because if a little bit of that light background color goes over, say, the berries or over the bird right now, it doesn't do anything. But if the berries are already red, it's really hard to get up close to that without having that red paint bleed out. So if you think of it, it is handy to paint your background first. Now I just wanted to brighten and cheer this up a little bit, so I'm dropping in some Broken China Distress Ink Reinker. So while that's still wet, I can sort of just mix and match and add other colors on there. And then in keeping with that sort of batch assembly line style, I'm going to paint all of the backgrounds at the same time. I'm also going to use a Faber-Castell PITT Artist pen to go over the eye and a little bit of the beak. It just gives a finished look, and that's waterproof. So, and it's a small journaling tip. So I painted all of the backgrounds, and you can see that here, and added the eye and the beak lines on each image. And now I will go in and paint the birds. So what I do, my typical process is I will pick up the Reinker ink from my palette, and that'll be concentrated and dark on my paintbrush. I'll put it where I want the color to be darkest on the image. Then off camera, I take my paintbrush, I dip it in the water and rinse it off and pat it on my paper towel. And then, so now it's a pretty dry, clean brush, and I can go in and blend out that darker color into areas where I want it to be lighter. So like here on the wing, I'm putting that dark concentrated color from my palette. I've rinsed off my brush now, and I am just blending that out. And then in between sections, or if there's going to be two parts touching each other, I will dry it in between, because paint will want to move wherever it's wet. So if you're going to paint two sections next to each other and you don't want them to blend into each other, make sure that it is dry before you move on to the next section. You can always go back and layer up more color like I did there on the bird and darkened up a little bit of a section, and that helped bring that wing forward a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of barn door red here and some spiced marmalade. And I will have all of the exact colors I'm using, including ink pads and the Distress Ink Reinkers used as watercolors. All those exact colors are listed down in the YouTube description box below as well. Adding just a little bit of that weathered wood for shadow on the bird. I used to be a little bit afraid of painting birds, but once you do like 2 or 3, it really becomes easy. So don't be afraid if you haven't painted a lot of birds. They're so beautiful, and it's just, I think they make the most beautiful cards. Don't be afraid, even if you just get one bird stamp to try, stamp it multiple times and just practice a little bit. If you do it 2 or 3 times, then any bird stamp will be much more approachable for you. Here I'm just going over with that concentrated ink onto the branch. Now with this process, as I've mentioned in other videos, I find it so helpful to batch this. So you can see I have all these stamped and ready to go, so at any time I could sit down and do the painting, or even just by collecting everything in the box, at any time I could sit down, even if it's just I just have a little bit of time, I could sit down and stamp everything. Also, just by adding a little bit different images inside of that postage stamp, it's not boring, so I don't feel like I have to paint this bird several times, but I can paint different birds each time. So it's still time efficient without being boring, at least for me. All that's left here is just to paint in those berries. I'm just doing a flat wash of red on those. And then once I had painted all of them, this is what I had. Really, really fun to do these. And now these could be sent anytime in the winter, not just at Christmas. And I love that. You could send these as thinking view, birthday cards, masculine cards, New Year's cards, just a happy winter card, or you could use them for holiday cards. I added some Toffee Crunch Memento ink around the outside using an ink blending tool and a foam pad. And now I have our Postage Shine Stick and Shine. So these are like a sticky rub-on, and you can just cut out the part that you want to use, peel off the backing, and just press it onto your card. I'm going to use our applicator tool, but you can also just use your finger. And I think these just take these up a notch. Then you're going to take your foil, put it shiny side up, and rub that with the applicator tool. Remove the foil, and you will have a foiled design without any heat or expensive tools. It's so, so fun. And I feel like it's just the perfect little touch you can add to these sort of handmade bird postage stamps. And I think airmail is so perfect. So here I'm going to layer up a little bit more foiling on there. If you want to see more about our stick and shine designs, I will put a link to a video that's just all about those. They're really, really fun, really easy to do, kind of addicting. I find I want to put them on everything now. But I like because they're just a little touch, but it just adds a lot of fun really easily. So I'll link that video for you down below. But you can see here from that same postage shine, stick and shine design, there's lots of different ones you can add to your cards. You can use them in lots of different ways. And that's what I've done here on these. And again, working in that batch assembly line style, I did all of the stick and shine next in my sort of process. Now I have our Blizzard embossing folder just embossed on white paper, and that's wrapped it with some twine, and then I'm going to pop up that postage stamp design on there and glue a little bow on here. And that is it for this card, and I am in love with these cards. They're so simple but so beautiful, very easy to do. Millions of ideas, different things you could put inside of that postage stamp, but I loved working with these birds. And that's the finished card. I followed that same process and same layout for the next card. All I did different was I did splatter some white acrylic paint to create some snow with the bird there. Use that same Blizzard embossing folder in the background. Now I wanted to show you another way that you can finish this card design. This is our Shimmering Tune stick and shine design. Really great with the birds, with the singing and the music notes. I'm pressing it onto my smooth cardstock, and I am just using that applicator tool. You could also use, like I said, your finger or a credit card. I'm going to peel up that piece there, and I'm going to use some of blue foil from our Classic Colors multi-pack and rub that to transfer the design. Now at first I thought I was going to use put this halfway up the card, but it was just, I didn't like how that looks, so I did trim that down. And then I like to do some ink blending right on top. I think that just kind of tones down the foiling so it doesn't compete with the other part of the design, the postage stamp, but you still have that festive, beautiful shimmer from the foil. So then I just adhered that down at the bottom of my card. I still have that Blizzard embossing folder up at the top, and I added that postage stamped design there up at the top. Again, just love making these cards. These are some of my favorites to make. So here is a look. It's much easier to see the shine here and that gorgeous detail of the Blizzard embossing folder. Those snowflakes are so detailed and so pretty and small and just delicate. I love them. Here is this one. You can see that snow that I splattered on using the white acrylic paint, and that post stick and shine design up at the top. And then the third and final card with that Shimmering Tune down at the bottom. Now of these three cards, my favorite is actually the one that's going to be in the middle with the snow splattered on and that bird perched on the fir branch. I'd love to know which one's your favorite. But now it's time for me to pack up my box, and I will be back with a new video and a new featured element to stay motivated. And if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also continue to connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, as well as Instagram, our website, and blog, and everything is linked for you down in the YouTube description box. Happy stamping!